It's time once again to play with the NHL Draft Lottery Simulation tool courtesy of Tankathon.com. Today we're going to take a look at the current standings, see who has the greatest odds of winning that first overall pick and a chance at top prospect Macklin Celebrini. We'll simulate the draft lottery into a top 10 selection coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, essentially we're doing a mock draft here today of the top 10 picks in the upcoming 2024 NHL draft. But before we do these selections, we have to know the draft order. In order to determine the draft order, we're going to use a tool that's on Tankathon.com's website, which allows us to simulate the upcoming draft lottery. So we'll take a look at the current NHL standings. It shows what the odds are for each team in winning. And then, of course, the tool will simulate the lottery process and determine who gets the first overall pick. Now, we've done this a few times throughout the season. We've had some pretty interesting outcomes, including a team like Minnesota going all the way to number one most recently. It's nice and fun to do this every 3 to 4 weeks or so as the standings change. And then, of course, later into the season, once the draft lottery is actually taking place, then we'll start doing some mock drafts based on the actual order that we are, for certain of. Now, for right now, we're going to hop onto the computer. We're going to go to the Tankathon.com website, take a look at the standings, and simulate the 2024 NHL Draft Lottery, followed by a top 10 pick for the mock draft. Okay, so here we are, the Tankathon.com NHL Draft Lottery Simulator website. So as we record this video, we're just over 8 days away from the NHL trade deadline. It might be a couple of days before this is posted on YouTube, so there could be a very slight change in the standings, but nothing overly drastic here. So just to review quickly the teams with the best odds. Right now, the Chicago Blackhawks are in line for a second straight first overall pick. If the odds go with what we should see here, they have the best odds at 18.5%. Obviously, they're that's still not great odds. The odds are against them, but they do have the best odds to win. San Jose's number 2, Anaheim's in 3rd for best odds. Columbus, Arizona, Montreal, Ottawa, Buffalo, Minnesota, Seattle, and St. Louis round out your teams that are eligible to go all the way to number 1. The top 2 picks are drawn via lottery. You can move up a maximum of 10 spots. The teams in the lottery below them, like Calgary, the Islanders, New Jersey, Washington, and the pick that the Sharks have from the Pittsburgh Penguins, are all eligible to win, of course. Low odds, mind you, but they can move up 10 spots. So they'll be anywhere in the top, 6 to 2 range, depending on which teams we're talking about possibly winning. So there we have it. So those are the teams with the best odds. Of course, the Blackhawks won last year in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. If they win again, they won't be eligible next year because obviously you can only win twice in a 5-year span. So we'll see what happens here. So let's simulate this draft lottery. The last time we simulated this, we had a big jump up in the Minnesota Wild one. What will we get here today? Let's see how things go. Here we go. The Montreal Canadiens emerge victorious with the first overall pick. That'd be their second turn in recent years as well, of course, getting Juraj Slafkovsky just a couple years back. The Blackhawks do hold the number 2 spot. So they'd go from 1 to 2, and everybody below them from the Sharks down to the Coyotes all get bumped down 1 spot. So obviously, that's a great win for the Habs. To get Macklin Celebrini would be phenomenal. So you're going to have the top 10 picks being Montreal, Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim, Columbus, Arizona, Ottawa, Buffalo, Minnesota, and then Seattle. So now we're going to hop over here and do a mock draft for those top 10 selections. Selecting first overall for the second time in 3 years, the Montreal Canadiens. And no doubt they will take Macklin Celebrini. Anybody in this spot would. Macklin Celebrini, of course, another player, BC-born Canadian player, dominating right now in the NCAA in his first season, which is an absolutely great sign to see. But Macklin Celebrini is the real deal. He is a full, complete player. I don't know that he's going to have an impact offensively like a Connor Bedard, but there is lots of skill. He's got an incredible compete level. He's got high-end skill. Can be a play driver. I think he's going to be a real solid building block for any team here. Like I said, I'm not sure that he's going to get the attention at long term, the highlight reels that we're going to see out of guys like Bedard, but Celebrini, in his own right, will be a very impactful first overall player by the looks of things and would complement the Habs extremely well. Picking second overall, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, and I have them taking Russian player Ivan Demidov. Demidov, to me, would be a great selection for them. 5'11", 181. May not come to North America right away, but they already made it known they're not planning to be overly good for a few more years. They can wait. He can have his impact later on. He would complement the forward group with Connor Bedard extremely well. Right now, he's too talented for the MHL. Likely gets bumped up here. But he's got an outstanding release as well. Hard battle, high pace, high skill level. I just think he would be an excellent forward to add to the mix here with the Chicago Blackhawks and could be a great complement to Bedard long-term in Chicago. At number 3 overall, we have the San Jose Sharks, and I have them taking Russian defenseman Anton Silyev. He's a rare find. 6'7", 211 pounds. It's rare to see a prospect with that type of size and that type of skating and agility. It's not something that's real common. Guys that size usually do struggle with that aspect of the game and those types of skills. Not a lot of offense out of him. He does have an offensive side to him, but it's not always the most consistent. But he is going to likely be a really solid shutdown defenseman, able to kill penalties. He can certainly join the attack and add some offense, but it's not necessarily going to be what he's most known for. He's going to be a real solid top 4 two-way shutdown type defender at the NHL, and something the Sharks are desperately missing. At number 4 overall, we have the Anaheim Ducks, and I have them taking another defenseman here, Artem Levshinov. Obviously, Levshinov is a player who's Russian-born, but playing in the U.S. at Michigan State University. Real solid offensive skills, high hockey IQ, has good size and strength. He's already 6'2", 209 pounds. He's a right shot. I know the Ducks have some already interesting and good-looking defensive prospects in their system here, but at the same time, you can never add too many of these types of players. They're not the most easiest to find, but he can give you a bit of everything. Good shot, good penalty kill, good power play guy, physical, just a really well-rounded defenseman, and that I think would make the jump to the NHL in fairly short order. 5 overall, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the run on defensemen here continues with them selecting Sam Dickinson, the 6'2", 204-pound defenseman from the OHL's London Knights. He's playing a huge role in London, getting a ton of ice time, deployed in all situations, which is great to see at a young age. Great skater, shoots the puck well, joins the rush, and can certainly contribute offensively. He already has approaching 60 points or over 60 points this year, which is great to see. There's certainly some aspects of his defensive game that'll need work, like a lot of young defensemen, but at the same time, he's projecting right now to be a top pair NHL defenseman that can play in all situations. I know some have kind of compared him to an Owen Power. Not to say he's going to be exactly the same, but there is some similarities in their style of play and what their projected futures look like. At number 6 overall, we have the Arizona Coyotes, and I have them selecting Caden Lindstrom from the WHL's Medicine Hat Tigers. Huge size and strength, 6'3", 210 pounds. Certainly had an up and down season, dealt with some injuries this year as well, but overall, he has produced and projects to be a potential top 6 NHL power forward who can play center. That's why I think the Coyotes are going to like this guy so much. You don't always see, the power center type of player, but he could possibly be that. May end up being a winger at the NHL. That still has to be, determined here, obviously. But at the same time, he's got a lot of offensive skill, has some bite to his game, and certainly has a nose for the net. I think he'd be a great fit in a team like Arizona. At number 7, we have the Ottawa Senators, and we have them taking another first-round U.S.-born player, Cole Yzerman. Now, Yzerman may end up dropping a little further here. At some points, he was in the top 3, top 5 pretty consistently, and it's not so much that he's had a bad season. It's that he's kind of been passed by some other guys, more specifically a lot of the D-men that have gone above him. The run on defense is going to cause him to drop. I know some places have him down, falling between like 11 to 15. I don't think he'll go that low. This guy, to me, is likely going to be possibly at least, projects like he could be the best pure goal scorer in this draft class. Problem is that he's, maybe average in a lot of other areas after the ability to score goals and shooting. So not to say that he can't play in all areas of the ice and be a more complete player, but the fact that he's not really classified as a complete player right now at this age, which is really not a huge shocker, is kind of causing his stock to fall a little bit. But I think he'd be a great fit in Ottawa. They could use another scoring winger there, and he could be the perfect fit. At number 8, we have the Buffalo Sabres, and they are going to take a defenseman here, and that's right shot defenseman Carter Yakimchuk. Now, we know this player is somebody who the Sabres, I think, would really like. We know that the Sabres are looking for another top 4 defenseman, and they may not have to go out and trade for him. They might be able to get him here in the draft if they're around this spot. This is where he's expected to go. Obviously, he's got a good size and strength already, 6'3", 195. I said playing with the Calgary Hitmen of the Western Hockey League. Has high hockey IQ, is a great skater, pretty good shot, can play in all situations. He projects to be a top pair defenseman long-term in the NHL. So the fact that he would be competing with guys like Dahlin and Power for your top pair, at the same time, he could be a good complement and a good partner for those guys as well. You throw in Mattias Samuelsson, Sabres could have themselves a pretty good top 4D for a long, long time. So I think Yakimchuk is exactly what the Sabres need here, and this is the spot to grab him. At number 9 overall, we have the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild are going to be selecting Konsta Helenius, the Finnish player, 5'10", 180 pounds. Plays a fast game, most dangerous off the rush. Certainly pretty good on the zone entries on the power play. It's another strength of his to get the puck down in there. But he's a play driver, sees the ice well, has good vision. Overall, projects to be a pretty solid top 6 forward. I think with the group that Minnesota has right now, you take a look at some of their players, obviously, that he could possibly be playing with. Imagine him fitting with some of your top players, like your Kaprizovs and your Rossies and stuff. And I think he'd be a terrific addition there. So to me, a solid top 6 forward with good vision, good skill would be exactly what Minnesota needs to grab here. At number 10 overall, we have the Seattle Kraken, and they're going to take Tij Aginla. Aginla here's been a high riser. He's projecting to be a real solid goal scorer. Shows a lot of signs that we saw his father, Jerome, show in the NHL. Now, not the exact same kind of player, but has enough similarities. Again, left with the Kelowna Rockets of the Western Hockey League. Currently weighs in at 5'11", 186, continuing to score at a high rate. Obviously, he's right up there with a 40-goal season already. He's described as a more shooter more than a playmaker, but he sees the ice well. Great decision maker, smart player, good pace, high-end compete, which he gets from his dad, and just overall has a real high projection here. So if the Flames are going to not be in the top 10, they're going to risk losing this guy. But I know that the Flames would love to grab him if they're able to, considering the connection to the family. So that's today's NHL Draft Lottery simulation. Interesting how it turned out, of course. Let me know your thoughts on the top 10 player picks. Of course, the prospect rankings have been changing a lot lately as a lot of these players are in the midst of their season. A lot of them making, playoff pushes and whatnot, trying to, finish strong here and improve their ranking as much as possible for the upcoming draft. So let me know your thoughts on the top 10 selections. And let me know which team you're hoping for the most to win the first overall pick and a shot at top prospect, Macklin Celebrini. Let me know your thoughts on today's video down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.